Welcome into the lounge presented by DraftKings. We are thrilled to sit down with linebacker Patrick Queen, a friend of the lounge.
Yes.
Multi-time guest. And I remember the last time you were on, you were talking about how you wanted all the smoke. You wanted it all from this season, and you got it, and you dished it right back to him, right? And now everybody's talking about, the Texans, CJ Stroud, he's hot, Ooh, people, they haven't seen the Ravens play like a real game since Miami. I think Baltimore fans are feeling a little nervous right now, right? And they saw the Texans blow out the Browns. I'm assuming it still stands that you want all the smoke, and you're kind of glad that they're playing well.
Most definitely. Give all those guys credit on their side. They earned it. They went in there, took care of Cleveland. CJ is looking great right now, and the whole team, they look like they're playing together. People around that stack helping people up off the ground. All that good teammate stuff. But at the end of the day, you know how we coming. We coming 10 toes down, locked together, arms locked together, all that stuff. Man, we ready, bro. We ready. Everybody's locked in. Everybody asking questions. Everybody's just locked in on the task in hand and just ready to go, honestly.
Yeah. Can you talk about the vibe around this team right now? Like, what's the feeling inside the locker room? What's the feeling at practice?
Just so much confidence. Almost cocky, but it's definitely, everybody's humble about it. Everybody know the task at hand and what we can accomplish and the stuff that we can do, but it's also a realization that if we don't take care of business, it'll be all for nothing. So everybody's locked in. It's just electric right now, honestly.
Yeah, it seems like all year the defense has really had this aura, swagger, confidence, bravado, whatever word you want to use to describe it. Why is that?
It's just we know how we could play. We know what we're capable of. We know what we could do. And everybody just want to be great. Everybody want to win, and we all got that common goal. And when you got the group of guys that we got that all care about each other, don't care who make the play as long as we all make the play, and just want to win. So when you got a team like that, that's what we're doing right now. That's why we look the way we look right now.
I know it's always, especially in Baltimore, it can be a little blasphemous to compare any defense to the 2000 defense, which is widely regarded here, at least, as the best defense of all time. But there was the Bullies of Baltimore documentary last year, and it kind of focused on not just that team in terms of what they did on the field, but the personalities, the brashness, the trash talk, all that stuff. And when you step back, 20 years later, and you look at a team, you say, man, we loved all that. And I think that I get similarities. The play is great, but I also think that the way that you guys as a defense carry yourself is also reminiscent of that group to a certain extent. Do you think it's important to have that type of persona on the field?
Yeah, you definitely do. It's one thing, it's just how you walk on the field, how you carry yourself. That stuff, all that stuff translates to the game. You just can't be one way off the field and then come on the field and be a whole nother way. That got to be just in you. It has to be portrayed through your everyday life. So I'm not saying go out and be, a-hole to people and stuff, but you got to have that in the back of your mind at all times, just being able to know how you can flip that switch. And I think that every person on our defense has that switch that they could flip and just turn it on and just get after people. And, not taking anything away from the 2000 defense. The game is a little different now. It's a whole bunch of plays in space. It's a whole bunch of stuff that we got to deal with, and we can't play how they used to play. Can't hold, can't hit, really. So it definitely makes it tougher on us. So I think when you got a bunch of dogs like we got right now, with the way the game is being played now, I think it just gives us even that much more credit to what we're doing.
Now, week 1 against the Texans, obviously, we won that game. How did you come out of that game feeling about CJ Stroud? Did you say, all right, I see it, this guy's going to be good, or what did you feel?
I always believed in CJ. Ever since, I think, me personally, I want him to go number 1 in the draft, honestly. I think he was the best quarterback in that draft. So I'm a huge CJ Stroud fan. But after the game, I think I might have said it in an interview, post-game interview or something, that he was going to be great. You could tell, he's poised. He can make every single throw on the field, even on the run, across his body. Just flicking his wrist, not even putting that much effort into it. So I think when you see a guy like that who don't care about getting hit, still gonna put the ball on the money and stuff, you gotta give him credit. And,
right.
He's definitely not playing like a rookie right now, so I definitely got a lot of respect for him.
So does that does that get you excited? Like me, I'm always like, give me the worst quarterback. I want the best matchup for the Ravens. Give me the trashiest quarterback.
I don't know.
What do you feel?
Sometimes we get the worst quarterback, bro. Stuff goes sideways. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about us. When we get the worst quarterback, we don't play good. I don't know what it is. But me personally, I think it is exciting because you're going to get the best game. And if that's the way you got to go out, then that's the way you got to go out. But I don't think we're going out. I think we're going to uplift the standard of what we've been doing all season and just get after them.
And people are obviously talking about all the strides that C.J. Stroud has made over his rookie season. But this defense has also gotten better. Yeah. In what ways do you see the Ravens' defense better now than it was in Week 1?
I think when you look at from the whole season, there's a few games where we just had a few miscommunication errors, and that's what led to plays being made by the other teams. And I think as you look now, it's over communicating on everything. Everybody's just extremely dialed in right now, and you get comfortable with everybody. There's a lot of moving pieces around our defense. Everybody doing different things. So I think over time you get more comfortable with stuff like that, and it just allows us to perform we are the way we are now.
Well, you're a huge part of the reason why this defense has been so good. You've had the best season of your career up to this point. How would you describe what this season has been for you and how well you think you've played?
It's been exciting. It's a lot of plays that I missed that I really want back. Stats wise, goals wise, that I missed. But as far as like just doing everything that I wanted to do, accolades, be there for my teammates, be a better teammate, be more vocal, be a better leader. I think I hit all of those things. So now it's just a point of me just being there for my brothers, doing what I'm supposed to do, being a guy that they could rely on throughout these playoffs.
It's interesting. Like a lot of teams in the NFL, I think are in today's league, and you kind of reference it. Passing league, like they're built from the outside in, like great corners, great secondary, and linebacker is not really a priority position, I think, for a lot of teams.
I think it's changing in the past couple of years. It's starting to change, but maybe it probably helped change.
Well, that's my point. Like I think that like you look at what you guys have been able to do, you and Roquan, and how well that you've played. Do you feel like that you are changing that perception or narrative that like, no, actually you build from the inside out, and if you have two great linebackers, that can make all the difference in the world for your team? Yeah,
absolutely. You can kind of see it in the playoffs with the teams that lost, like people throwing the ball in the middle of the field, they just running it straight at them down their throat. So I think if you ain't got two people who can sit right there and just control both aspects of the game, it's going to be a long night for you. And I think that's one thing that me and Ro kind of stopped the offense from doing, is be able to run up the middle and then throw the ball in the middle of the field. So, it's still been throws here and there where it'll slip, and then you'll see like we'll come back and make the play later. So it's all about a learning process, a learning aspect to the game and stuff, and not letting somebody get you twice. Like no guy get paid on the other side of the ball as well. So it's honestly tough in today's game with all the stuff that's going on the offensive side of the ball to do what we do. But definitely think nowadays you got to have two good inside linebackers that could control both aspects.
Personally for you, what kind of, I don't know if it's a weight off your shoulders, or what was the emotional feeling of being a Pro Bowl or being an All-Pro, something that I know been striving for?
Yeah, first 2 days, I ain't gonna lie, it was just like mind-blowing, honestly. Because it's not as much as like, yes, I got this accolade, like a trophy or something. It's more of like people around me notice, like people from other teams, coaches from other teams, fans notice what I'm doing. So that's the biggest part of it. But after those 2 days, I was just like, okay, whatever, like let's go win something. So it's definitely it's enjoyable, but at the same time it's just another thing.
First of all, let me put it on the record. I hope that you are here in Baltimore for a very long time. Okay, yeah. Long time. All right, not going anywhere. But as you know as well as anybody that this is the last year of your contract. How do you look at this playoff run? Do you view it as like, hey, this could be it? We need to go win this thing because it could be it. Like, how are you mentally approaching it?
Everybody know how this team is, and the people that we got and the people that might be going and stuff. So we definitely look at it like it's a one-shot thing. But at the same time, it's just like, this has been a process for me being here for 4 years, like just building up to get to this point, to be able to go and win it all. So I think when you sit back and look at it, it's just like, we got this opportunity that we haven't had since I've been here. Why not just take full advantage? Why not just go all in? Like the contract and stuff, all that stuff sort itself out. Just be focused on the task at hand. Try to go out there and win, because if we win, we all win, So that's the main goal, is winning the Super Bowl, and all the contract stuff can come after the season.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for joining us, PQ. Best of luck, man. Know you're going to tear it up.
Yep.
Thank you.
Keep it up, man.
Appreciate it.
Really enjoyed the conversation with Patrick Queen. We're coming to you from the SeatGeek studio. Also, we want to give a shout out to our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, which is an official sports betting partner of the Baltimore Ravens. They've got a limited time offer running that you don't want to miss. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use the promo code FLOCK. If you're a new customer, you can get a deposit bonus up to $1,000. Again, the promo code is FLOCK only at DraftKings Sportsbook. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. You need to be at least 21 or older to play and physically present in Maryland.
Thank you, Garrett. I want to remind you that BGE is all about small businesses being the backbone of Maryland's economy. In partnership with the Baltimore Ravens, BGE is investing in communities across Central Maryland, helping small businesses continue to thrive. Be sure to visit www.bgenow.com to learn more. This week's business is Butterbee Farm, which works to make sure that florists get higher quality, longer lasting flowers that can lower their carbon footprint. Butterbee Farm is reaching full flower as they now have their own land in Harford County to continue to successfully help florists across the community. Big things popping in Harford County.
There's a lot going on there.
So really fun to talk to Patrick Queen. And I mean, just a great guy who's had a great season. I think he's somebody that's been easy to root for during his whole career because he had kind of some early, he got thrown into the fire and he was a young player with not a whole lot of starting football experience, kind of a late bloomer at LSU, and then he gets first round pick. Hey, you're the guy, right?
He was a late bloomer, but he was also incredibly young. I think he was drafted. He was 20 years old.
Exactly.
And was one of, if not the youngest player in the NFL's rookie season.
I couldn't even have a beer to celebrate being drafted.
Yeah, seriously.
So yeah, and just to see his maturation, as a player, as a guy, all that stuff to where he is now, it's just one of the feel-good stories of the year. And it's one that we hope continues.
Yeah.
That will be the big question, ready to hit unrestricted free agency this offseason. What's your gut telling you on the chances of PQ returning and how that process might work out?
Well, I'll go back to the draft. And when the Ravens drafted Trenton Simpson, I think a lot of people felt like, okay, this is signaling the end of Patrick Queen's time in Baltimore and all that stuff. And then Eric DeCosta came on this very podcast, and he made it clear. He said that the Ravens would like to extend Patrick Queen and work out a long-term deal with him. Obviously, that hasn't happened up to this point, but I'm not ruling that out. I know that it's unconventional in a lot of ways to pay two inside linebackers. That's not how it generally works, to the point of the question that I asked Patrick. But the Ravens defense has been so good, and he has been such a vital piece of it, that I'm not just dismissing that and saying, well, you don't pay two inside linebackers. And I don't think the Ravens will dismiss it either. I think that if they're able to get a deal done, they will try to do that. I don't think it's going to come cheap. I think that he's going to get a deal in the neighborhood of what Roquan Smith got, and that's going to be the going rate for a player who's now a Pro Bowl level linebacker. So
not Pro Bowl level, a Pro Bowler.
Yes,
and all pro.
He is. So it's not going to be cheap. It's going to be difficult to get a deal done. I don't know if the dollars and cents will work out, but I certainly hope they do.
Well, obviously, I think Justin Madubuike plays into all of this as well as the Ravens' other he's going to command the biggest price tag of the other free agents. And I wonder, do the Ravens enter negotiations with both of these guys and you see which one happens, right? I would think the Ravens would want to bring back both of them. That is probably an unlikely scenario given that Lamar Jackson's cap number is going to continue to rise and whatnot. That would seem unlikely to me. Hey, Nick Matteo, Eric Costa, maybe they can work some magic. I would love that. But you don't want to also lose both of them, right? And then have, now we're going out and getting somebody else's free agent, right? So I don't know which way the Ravens would lead in an either-or situation if they had to pick one, if they, does one take priority over the other? I don't know. What I can say about Patrick Queen is I think he's a force multiplier. I think that his energy that he plays with on the field, beyond just how good he is as a blitzer and tackler and in coverage and all the things that he does from an X's and O's standpoint, he's also a force multiplier. So is Roquan Smith, right? And so you already kind of paid one guy top dollar to be that kind of player in the middle of your defense. Now you multiply it times two when you add Patrick Queen on that. So I would love that. It kind of comes down to, all right, on the defensive line, if you were to lose Justin Madubuike, does he offer something that's a little bit more unique than what Patrick Queen does as a pass rushing? He led all defensive linemen in sacks this year. Is that a little bit more something more unique That kind of player only comes around once in a while, right? That's going to be the calculation and the questions that I think the Ravens are asking themselves this offseason. I like both guys. Justin Madubuike is a force multiplier. He's a really hard worker, just like PQ. And so it's a tough choice that the Ravens are going to have on their hands.
If they get a deal done with one, that leaves a franchise tag open for the other potentially, but franchise tag comes at a heavy price tag.
Right. And generally your first year or two, you can kind of kick the can a little bit because you get a deal.
If you do a long-term deal.
A long-term deal with one of them, usually your year one cap hit is small enough where you can absorb, possibly absorb. We don't know all the cap numbers.
Yeah.
Got to get Brian McFarland on here.
Yeah.
You can absorb that franchise tag. So that would be the best case scenario. You keep both of them somehow and kind of kick that decision down the road a little bit.
Yeah, well, the one thing that we know for sure, and this has been a trend of what I've heard from players for the past month or so, is we know, A, that he's going to be on the field on Saturday. So that's good, okay? Before we start looking ahead to next year, we know he's going to be on the field on Saturday when the Ravens face the Texans. And I do really believe, as he spoke to this, that the Ravens believe the time is now. That this is an opportunity with the players who are going to set to hit free agency, a bunch of coaches potentially interviewing. No one knows how any of those things play out. But what you do know is that this group is together right now and that the Ravens have the pieces in place to go win it all. And they feel like this is their window and they've got to go take care of business. Yep. And not to say that the window slams shut after this year. I don't think that's the case. But for this group and for players who could end up leaving, they feel like, no, this is it. Michael Pierce said the same thing to us last week. Mm-hmm. Patrick Queen said the same thing to us today. Like, this team feels like their window of opportunity is now, and they are focused on getting it done.
Look, the Ravens have hit on a bunch of guys on one-year deals also on top of this.
Exactly.
Jadeveon Clowney, Kyle Van Noy, Odell Beckham Jr., Nelson Aguilar, right? Like, now, maybe Eric DeCosta can bat 1,000 again next offseason, and you either bring those guys back and they continue to flourish, or you bring in new guys on one-year deals. Arthur Mollett, add him in there too. And I'm sure I'm probably even missing guys.
Yeah, you have guys like Ronald Darby who gets right. signed and could end up, starting playoff games.
Totally. So, maybe Eric DeCosta can do that again, but that's tough. That's a high bar. And so I think that there definitely is. I think you can safely say, you know what, next year, I don't know that it's going to be this special. I think the Ravens are going to be good, but are they going to be this good with all these coaches? That's tough to say. That's tough.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, I don't think their window slams shut, but I think that the opportunity is really unique with this group. And I feel like that's kind of, in my mind, really crystallized over the course of the back half of the season when you look at just the career years that Van Noy and Clowney are having and the buy-in from this team, the coaching staff, which is excellent. Of course, it's getting all this attention around the NFL. This is a special group. And the Ravens, they feel like they need to go and handle their business. And I think that if the Ravens play to the level that they're capable of, they won't lose again.
I agree.
Now, are they going to do that? That's the question.
The big question, obviously, is rust right now. You have a team coming off a bye. The week before, they played the Steelers, and 7 starters sat out that game, didn't play in that game. So that's the big question. I really don't I don't feel it from this team. I really sense that they are locked in and very focused. I don't expect rust.
Yeah.
I just don't. I think that it's a different feeling than in 2019 when it was just like, it really felt like the Ravens were more on cruise control that year. They didn't face the level of competition that the Ravens faced down the stretch this season that really hardened this team. John Harbaugh has talked about those games against the Jags, 49ers, Dolphins, that really sharpened this team. And now I know the Steelers, again, starters rested. It's been a while since we've seen the full assortment of weapons put on the field together. But I just get the sense that this team is really locked in, really dialed in, and I do like the week of preparation that the Ravens had and the week of practice, going down to the stadium and simulating what it's like to be in that game day mindset. I like how they approach the bye week. So I honestly think I get more the sense that they're just going to explode coming out of this game than I'm fearful of rust.
Yeah, I think one thing that would be really nice, and I'm not saying this is the end-all be-all, but it would be really nice to just start the game hot.
Oh, yeah.
And you could say that every single game, that's probably the case, but if you come out there and you jump out to an early lead, get points on your first drive,
just,
like
all that stuff is
all that like
goes
nervousness of rust and 19 and all that stuff. It's like, okay, collective exhale. Now you can just go play the rest of the game.
And then it's just like, all right, the Texans are on a roll right now. The Ravens go down the field and score on their opening drive, whatever, get a 3-and-out on defense. Like, okay, now the Ravens are the team on the roll.
Yeah.
It can flip that fast in a game.
Yeah.
And I think that Todd Monken's going to have it dialed up early in this game. I think he's probably thinking the same way, that starting fast and making sure that we put that 2019 and slow starts and rust out of the Ravens' mind early in this game is going to be paramount.
Yeah, and I also will say, in the event that the team doesn't start fast, I still like this team's ability, and I think this is one of the main things that's different about this team, is that compared to 19, is that this team has so many different avenues to victory. And if they do fall behind early, they have the weapons on the outside, they have the passing game to climb out of that hole.
Definitely better equipped for a comeback. Now,
I prefer not to.
They have not been behind much this season.
No.
Really, the game was against the Rams. Fourth quarter, about 5 minutes left to go. You're down 5 points, or 4 minutes left to go. So they've done it. The ensuing drive, Lamar Jackson went down the field, scored a touchdown, winning overtime. But they haven't been in that position a lot. I do think that they're just a more mature team than they were then. Lamar Jackson's a more mature player. They're just more veteran. I mean, you think back to how young a lot of the key players were that year, especially on offense. Mark Andrews was also in his second year. Gus Edwards, second year. And so you had
Hollywood Brown was
his
a
rookie
season.
He was a rookie, exactly. You had a lot of really key young players on that team that I think against the Titans, when the Titans jumped out, it was kind of like, what the heck? We have not felt this, because the Ravens just kept jumping out to these huge leads, which is another difference between this team and 2019, right? The 49ers and Dolphins games both got out of hand, but they were pretty close for really the first half of the 49ers game, and then the Ravens had this incredible third quarter. That was a close game at halftime.
Yeah, it was.
The Dolphins game, it was midway through the second quarter when the Ravens stomped on them. But it wasn't
it was a really close quarter.
It was 2019, they were just getting up 14-21-0 on teams in the first. It was boat racing teams.
Look, I think I agree with all the differences that you mentioned, and like, I'm not going to hold it against, and I know you're not saying this, like, the fact that the Ravens haven't had to come from behind very often this year, like, that's not a negative. That's a positive. But I think that they're better equipped if they need to do that. They have a more complete passing game. They have better weapons, and they have more avenues to win. And this defense is much better. And Patrick Queen is going to be a huge piece of that. The other thing, too, that I think is worth mentioning is just some injury updates. So we have some clarity on the injury front. It's never crystal clear, going into a playoff game, but we have a little bit more clarity based on the team's practice on Tuesday. Zay Flowers was back at practice, which I thought was a great sign. He was a limited participant, but he was on the field. And so he did not practice at all last week, did not play in the season finale against the Steelers. Zay Flowers had a huge game in week 1 against the Texans.
9 catches.
He's back on the field, which I think is a really good sign. Adafe Owe also back on the field, and he said that he's playing.
He told reporters that there's no way he's going to miss the playoffs.
So I like that.
Good news. Yep.
Who else do we got? Marlon Humphrey was not on the field on Tuesday. We'll see how the rest of the week progresses for him.
Well, Malik Harrison also returned to action. So Marlon Humphrey, Delshon Phillips were still out, and Tylan Wallace. Those were the 3 Ravens that were not practicing on Tuesday. Marlon Humphrey, obviously, that's a big deal. We'll see. As of taping this, we're taping this before Wednesday's practice. If we see him out there on Wednesday, that would be a big deal. And then the other guy is Mark Andrews.
The big dog.
The big dog. And so Mark returned to practice for the first time on Friday, was again out there on Tuesday, and John Harbaugh said he took a big step forward in Tuesday's practice. Again, a limited participant, but you see him moving around during the portion of practice open to reporters, and it looks like the same old Mark Andrews.
It seriously does.
He made a leaping catch in front of reporters, and you're like, okay, like, this guy doesn't look limited at all.
Yeah. I was sitting there with Cliff Don.
Cliff Don.
Yeah, there you go. I was sitting there watching practice with Cliff, and I said, if you didn't know, and I said, which guy is coming off ankle surgery? Who would you guess? I don't think Mark would be high on that list.
No.
Like, you wouldn't say, oh, clearly he's walking with a limp, and like he looks the same.
Mark may be better physically than some of the guys that have been playing the whole time that have just gotten banged up. Like, he might be a little fresher than those guys.
Like, he looks good. Now, what we don't know is how it feels after practice, and we have no idea how much pain Mark is in at practice. He would never admit to it, even I think if he was in pain, but so we don't know that. Like, there's questions, of course, that are up in the air, and at this point, the Ravens, John Harbaugh, Mark Andrews have not said whether he's going to play on Saturday. We're guessing. We don't know at this point. He looks good. Well, he has not yet been moved to the 53-man roster.
They have cleared spaces. They cleared 2 spots on the 53-man roster. So take that for what it mean. What you think it might mean.
The other thing I do think is worth mentioning on the 2 spots that are now open on the 53-man roster, the other one who is back at practice, who's really kind of flown under the radar, is Devin Duvernay. He went down with a back injury during the season in the game that Tylan Wallace against the Rams ended up returning that punt. He went on IR. He has returned to practice, and they do have 2 spots. Tylan Wallace didn't practice.
Exactly.
So they might just be in a situation, if Tylan is hurt and not able to go, they could just do the flip back and then move Tylan to IR and activate Devin Duvernay.
Or Tylan just doesn't play in the game.
Or he's just a scratch for that game.
You don't have to put Tylan on IR. You don't need that roster spot right now. And then Dalvin Cook is on the practice squad with 3 elevations that you can use. He could remain on the practice squad for the remainder of the season. You only need 3.
Yeah.
And so he could be elevated that way for game day. He looks good too. So we'll see. But Mark Andrews, that news is huge for the Ravens. And in the spirit of Mark Andrews,
okay.
Is
this a bonus?
This is the bye week, right? So you still got to give the bye week dog of the week, and this is the comeback dog of the year, Mark Andrews. Honorary. You see, also notice I left enough space for 3 more dogs.
Yes, I noticed.
Exactly.
That puzzle is not complete.
Exactly.
I noticed that.
Congrats to Mark on the comeback. We haven't heard from him, but it'll be really cool to hear from him this week, hopefully, if he speaks to reporters about just what it took to come back.
Yeah.
And obviously comments on being the comeback dog of the year.
I hope that, no, this is obvious, but really hope that he's able to play.
Yeah.
His recovery, getting back to this point, I think says a lot about who he is, and that's why he's the comeback dog. But I hope he's able to play. This team, these games mean so much to him. If there's any way that he can play, he is not missing playoff games if he's able to get out there.
So let's remind listeners that we have a live lounge episode coming up next from High Tops Grill.
Yeah, this is going to be Thursday night. 7 p.m.
We're going live.
Yes.
So that's going to be really exciting, and make sure you tune in for that, or come on out to High Tops.
Yes.
Better yet,
yes,
because we need that place packed. So thrilled to be doing that. Thanks for listening. As always, you can reach us at the lounge at ravens.nfl.net, and we'll see you Thursday night.